welcome back to the second segment of episode 139 of Sold with Updike Pugh.
And today we're going to talk about generators and are they right for you and your house? I think it became incredibly important both in February and what was it? Was it the beginning of June?
It was the beginning of June, yeah.
When ERCOT sent out that cute little text that said we'd like for everybody in Texas to conserve your electricity. So we started thinking about, well, okay, if you're going to ask us to conserve, well, what are we going to do? And we put together a really great idea list and reasons for getting into a generator and what could be the benefit for.
Absolutely. This is one of those things that I've had so many people ask me about because they're looking at it from the perspective of, is this an investment that I'm going to get money back on? And every time it's absolutely.
100%. I don't think that everything that you can do to a house is a dollar to dollar. I almost know that it's not. But I really feel like if you put a $4,000 generator in, that is a $4,000 value add.
Absolutely.
So,
the typical house loses power once or twice a year for at least 3 hours. So it loses power more than that, but at least 3 hours, once or twice a year, the typical house. So, I know many of our friends went for several days without power. So, this is typical. This is average. So,
and it's different. I think that February really kind of put it into perspective in what can happen when your power goes out and it's cold. It's much different than when it's hot. They both have their differences, and I think that it's so important as climate change does continue that we take steps to make sure that our houses are protected and our investments are protected.
Absolutely. So, if you're doing this in the winter, you've got to deal with frozen pipes.
Right.
You can deal with loss of food from refrigerators, which can get expensive very quickly.
And I think that that's the big thing that we're talking about is because in the winter, when you do have your pipes burst or you do have your hot water break, your toilet can crack, we've heard as well. These are elements that had the power stayed on, had the heat stayed on, the chances would have been less that this would have been such a large catastrophe in some cases.
And there were, a lot of people will run out and get emergency portable generators. And, they're the types of generators that a lot of construction people use. They run on regular gas,
Diesel.
or diesel. And, you've got to go out and manually start them. But, and you also, there's a certain type of interconnection that you have to have in order for that to be into part of your true electric system that a lot of people don't do on the emergency portables.
And the other thing too is on those portable ones, if it's say that it's a rain or it's a tornado and something like that has that effect, getting outside and getting that done while that effect is happening is almost impossible at times. If not, you're just going to be completely drenched. It's going to be quite dangerous at times, especially, depending on how it fires up. So I think these are elements to take into consideration when you're trying to find out which one is right for your house.
Yeah, the more permanent ones, I think, provide a different level of safety because, you're not dealing with all the cords dangling around like you have with the portables. You are, you have to you're dealing less with the opportunity of fire because those do have more of a fire opportunity than the permanent type generators do.
And the thing is that now that they can connect into the direct gas line, there will always be that source of energy, so they'll be able to run. The other thing too is that a majority of these that actually connect into your gas lines have a system that does a test, and so it'll run a test once a month to make sure that everything is functioning well. A lot of them now actually sync up to the Wi-Fi, and so therefore they'll let you know that the test was completed and if everything went as it was supposed to.
And these are one of the cool things that I love about these is their automatic start.
Yes.
So your house your power goes down within a matter of 4 or 5 seconds. The generator starts back up starts up, and your electricity comes back almost instantly.
And I think as you're doing the research on these, one of the things that you'll find is that this would be one of those times to buy more than what you actually think you need, because you need to do the research and find out how much your HVAC pulls, how much your refrigerator pulls. These are the big ticket items. But at the same time, you're going to actually have other things like lights, be able to run the computers. You know, are you charging your phone? And it just really does begin to add up. And without enough, a large enough generator, it becomes difficult.
And I think, if I'm not mistaken, it's Generac that has a really cool product on their website that you can go put in the number of air conditioners you have, the number of heaters you have, the size of your air conditioner, because that's going to come into if you've got, you know, 2 1-ton units or you've got 2 5-ton units, you know, there is a usage difference that they've got to calculate. But it'll tell you exactly which one of their models is the one that you need.
And I think that's so important just because as we were doing the research, it's just not the same when you buy the smaller unit and the house doesn't quite all the way come back.
Yeah.
One of the things too that you and I began to talk about is how in real estate we see more and more houses become multi-generational. And as homes become more multi-generational, there's different equipment that, you know, a child needs or maybe an elderly parent. And these medical devices also are going to need to be thought of when you're putting them on the generator. So again, it's one of those other reasons to actually get the generator in the first place.
It really is. You know, there are a couple of fuel types that you would have a choice from. I think if you're anyone that's in the city of Dallas that's got access to natural gas, then that would be the route to go, because, you know, the other options are diesel and propane, and then you've got to figure out where to bury your tank and how to keep it full. And, you know, there's just if you don't have access to natural gas, that might be your only other option. But
Correct.
It does seem like natural gas would be the one to head toward.
Yep, and I think we're going to be able to give you a link in the comments below that you can click on. There's some great ideas out there for these as well. I would definitely say that as things continue in Texas, this would be something that people should really think about before they catch on too much. Just like buying a heater in the winter, they're more expensive than they are in the summer, and vice versa for fans.
Yeah, absolutely. So, you know, I think this is one of those things that you would have the opportunity to potentially use at multiple times during the year, because in the summer, if there is too much draw on the power grid and they start with rolling blackouts,
Right.
this is going to help during the winter months when we have the issues then, and then during storms also. I mean, I've lost more power in storms you know, like windstorms and tree lines going down, and I'm on the end of a power line, so I'm one of the first ones to go out if that line gets struck, and I'm one of the last ones to get it back if so. I mean, I went out of town one time, and I had some friends that were staying over at the house watching the dogs. And the day I left, they had a windstorm that knocked the power out, and it was gone out the entire time that I was out of town.
That was not me.
No.
I was not sitting in that house that day.
So just from a kind of a cost perspective, I did an analysis on my house. My home's about 2,500 square feet. I've got 3 air conditioners, 3 refrigerators, and then I factored in some of the other, you know, the other options that I think it was Generac that I went to. The unit that my house would need would be the 27 kilowatt hour generator, and I think the quote I got was somewhere about $7,000 installed. And these are things that you can get financing for very easily.
Interesting. I would say this is a very strong candidate for you in the near future.
Yeah, I would agree. So I hope that's been helpful. You know, if you have any other questions, certainly reach out to us. We'd be happy to talk to you.
And if anybody else is curious as to why Jeff has 3 AC units and 3 refrigerators on a 1,500 square foot home, you're not the only one. Well, with that, we're going to sign off and say thank you so much for joining us. And just remember, we want to be your realtors for life.